Hello, friends. I'm Rachel Drake, and this is the Trail Network podcast. This week, we're releasing a heartfelt conversation we had last year with the 2022 winner of the Black Canyon 100K in honor of the race this weekend. Trueheart Brown won the race in 2022 at the age of 41, really as an underdog, and I think it just embodies the spirit of our sport. I really hope you enjoy this chat with Trueheart Brown.
How are you feeling today?
I'm doing great, and thank you so much for the invite and the opportunity to speak with the three of you. And I want to say, just first off, pretty honored and humbled by the invite when you reached out to me, Katie. And I do want to say too, one, congratulations to Rachel for performance last weekend, pretty epic. I know you've got it, but let's get it recorded and on the record for the podcast. And then to Katie and Leah, stellar job on the commentary too. I know, like, all the technical difficulties, the weather, the bouncing around, but you guys did great. And the just the atmosphere that you bring to the commentary is just so real, and it's great. So kudos to you guys, and just wanted to start it off with that. So thank you guys, and congrats again, Rachel. And to the three of you guys throwing down at Western States is going to be pretty cool. So yeah, I'll be watching and cheering for all three of you.
Thank you so much.
Those are really nice words. Hey, Trueheart, we have to tell you, your name was dropped many times this past weekend. Just so you know, you're definitely a celebrity at Black Canyon and really all Air Viper races, but it's gone further than that. There's now something called the Trueheart Brown effect, and I'm not sure if you know what that is, but it's basically like when a relatively unknown person in the sport races wire to wire, beating all the pros, and you come home with the W. So that is now the Trueheart Brown effect, and you have forever changed the face of our sport. And yeah, we're curious about what happened at Black Canyon 2022. Give us the rundown. What was going through your mind that day?
So again, one, thank you, and I apologize for the noise kind of going in the background. I'm still at work and still have kind of some stuff going on, but yeah, and I did catch a little bit of that during the commentaries, and some of the podcasts, and I got to tell you, it's pretty embarrassing, and I mean, I just kind of, but I threw down that day and had a great day, and it was kind of one of those days where and I think it comes from cycling, but you get the term where you just have diamonds in your legs, and you just, like, everything clicks. I'll be honest, and I've said it before, I didn't give myself a chance in hell. Like, I had been looking at the start list, and it had been building, and like, I'd only run a few ultras, and they were much shorter. I ran Black Canyon once before, and I didn't give myself a chance in hell. So I really just wanted to, I knew I could definitely PR on the course, but really just wanted to give it hell from the get-go. Knew there was that tight little bottleneck right at the beginning where it went to single track, and then also knew I didn't want to be behind a train going down that once you get off of the kind of 2-track roads and hit that first bit of single track. And yeah, just kind of started striding out, and nobody was gaining on me, and was like, oh, I'll just see how far I can go, and just kept progressing, and really didn't until Table Mesa kind of start feeling like, okay, this might happen. There were some definite hiccups in there, low spots, fell once pretty good on that first gate, just jumped that, but really just ran my own race and didn't worry about what the field was doing behind. I figured I was going to get caught by multiple folks, but really just kept going, kept kind of pushing, just focusing on my pace, slowing down when I needed to, picking it up when I could. Stayed really good on hydration, and then just, fueling as well. That's something I've always just been terrible about. But, frankly, everything just kind of came together that day. I can't put my finger on one thing that just went right, but it just kind of all clicked throughout the day. And like I said, it had been training well, really consistent, and it was just one of those kind of magical days, I guess. And it's funny, I was thinking back on it now, and just since you reached out, Katie, but I remember having that realization, like, it may never get any better than this in terms of like what gets thrown down or what my body can do, and just enjoying the moment too. And that's one thing, like, towards the end of it, where I was able to just enjoy it and really be very present during the end of the race. And that's something I know I typically fail at doing in general life a lot of the time, but trying to learn from that moving forward. So I guess that's kind of it in a nutshell in terms of the quick and dirty of it.
That's so great that you were able to be present and really enjoy that moment, because it's hard to do. It seems like you have, really fond memories of that day. Do you think about Black Canyons 2022 often?
I do. And it is one of those things where it's one of those days, and thinking back, I mean, honestly, it makes me a little emotional. I'm not going to pretend like it doesn't, because it just so happened that, my family was there, my mom was there, my stepfather was there, my brother was there, and, like I said, it just kind of all came together that day. And yeah, I think back on it, and just people cheering for me, and, you just don't get that, or I don't get that typically, out of myself. So it's one of those things you treasure, if you will. And, that's one of my treasured memories. And then having my family there at the end was, I've got pictures in front of me right now. You can't see them, but they're scrolling through, and those are some of my. I'm sorry.
You're all
making
good.
us all cry.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
This wasn't supposed to go down like this.
Quick pause in the show to tell you about a fun new project with Strava and Barilla, the pasta company. Barilla wants to help you stay active this winter with its great tasting protein plus pasta. It's the pasta taste you love with the energy you want. And let's be real, we all need carbs and protein, and turning to Barilla Protein Plus Pasta is a perfect way to do so with ingredients like lentil flour, pea protein, chickpea flour. You can easily increase your protein intake with 17 grams of protein per 3.5 ounce serving. So go grab the yellow box of Barilla pasta next time you're in the grocery store. Put your energy to the test and take on Barilla's Protein Plus Pasta Winter Energy Challenge this February on the Strava Fitness app. It's free, and all you need to do is simply complete 10 days of movement for your Barilla Protein Plus Pasta reward. Terms and conditions apply. Sign up at strava.com/Barilla.
What a gift to give your family too, to give them that memory of getting to see you excel at something and just lay your heart out for all of us to see. I mean, what a gift for your family and for the community of ultra running to get to witness that incredible performance.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you try to do your best for, Katie, Rachel, I know it, you try to do your best and give everything you can to your family. And to be able to show them how, how hard that can be, and what we sacrifice to do what we do, and how hard it can be to have everything come together, and not just for our kids, but for our families too, and friends, and what it all means to put it all together like that, because it can be, it can be a very selfish thing, but it can also be a very family community oriented endeavor. And it really takes almost, that perfect balance to make that work. So at all
Yeah,
levels.
gosh, I just love that so much. I mean, I don't have a family yet, but it's something I aspire to have someday. And I think watching people like you balance in an extraordinary way, and then also have the humble respect for the challenge that is. It's just amazing. And I just love to hear the heart that you speak with whenever you think back to that experience. But like, do your kids know how badass you are and like what you do and just the incredible nature of like the work life you have, the dad you are, and the performance that you were able to throw down that day and then also in several other races? Do they know like who their dad is?
I, I hope they know who I am, but I hope that I don't I don't I don't want them to think of me. I want them to just think of me as their dad, and um doing what I can for them, and trying to support them how I can. And I am by no means, I mean, I try I try every day, but I fail every day too. Um and that's hard with kids, and I will say though, Leah, I mean, you do have a family, and I mean everything you do for, you know, your husband, and I mean your community, and your work, and I mean it's everybody has those things, and I will say, I mean, Rachel, Katie, you know, and I am giving full kudos to you, and my wife. Like, my wife, she's a stay-at-home mom, homeschools our kids, and she gets, I mean, she needs to be raised up on a pedestal. She's the badass out of all of us.
We're gonna
And
have her
and I
on next. You
I
don't
I
know
will
that. She's
say,
coming on next.
but I mean, for you all, and my utmost respect, and I don't know how you do it as mothers, because I try to be a good father, but um seeing what my wife has been through, and only knowing what that would look like, and then layering on ultra running on top of that, how you do it, my kudos, my hats off to you for doing what you guys do.
Thank you, Trueheart. Well, let's use this opportunity to kind of move on and talk about like where you are now. Where are you calling home? I'm curious about where you're actually recording from right now, because it looks like it's in some sort of an office. And generally, how are you spending your time?
So most of so right now, to start off with, I'm in the Coconino National Forest Supervisor's office. That's where I work. I'm the Deputy Fire Staff Officer here on the forest. So I help coordinate all kind of the suppression response fire efforts here on the forest, kind of year round. It's more of a management position. Um, it takes me out of the field, but it's something that, just natural progression in an organization. I enjoy what I do. I get to interact with a lot of great folks, help lead a fire organization that has about 220 people in it, and they go do great things all across, not only the Coconino, but Northern Arizona Forest Service, but based out of Flagstaff, Arizona, one of the running meccas, if you will, in the U.S. I'm sure you all have spent a little bit of time here at least. But my office, if you can't see, but right out that window, kind of there, is San Francisco Peak. So I at least have a decent view right now. from the office, but it's home. We were chatting about it before you hit record. A few workout implements in here, Bosu ball and some kettlebells and a little rolling mat, and I'm standing on a balance board right now. So sometimes that's the extent of my workouts, but you get what you can some days.
It's all about that balance. Well, Trueheart, man, it was just so inspiring watching you at Black Canyon. And then obviously even more inspiring to see that you had to turn down your opportunity to run Western States because you were fighting the wildfires in Arizona. Can you talk a little bit about what that meant to you at that time and if you have any intentions of chasing down the dream to get back to Western States in the future?
Yeah, and I'll kind of tie that back into the previous question because I didn't really finish answering it, but it was pretty hard. It was obviously brutal turning down the ticket and the spot to go. Had just, I mean, had really been gearing up towards it, but with kind of what we had going on here on the forest and the district, with some pretty significant fires that, I mean, let's be honest, have changed the face of the San Francisco peaks forever. And not only the peaks, but just the impact to the community, and just the issues we were dealing with. One, wasn't really able to train like I needed to be ready to go, and honestly didn't feel I could honestly step away from my responsibilities here, to go run that. And as as hard as that is, it was just a choice I had to make, and it just wasn't in the cards. Is the way it ultimately came down, and I I probably kind of hung on too long of a hope that I would be able to go. Um, but I just had to make that call because I wasn't going to be able to run the way I wanted to, just physically, and then just trying to step away from here. The timing couldn't have been worse. And I knew it when I took the ticket, um, that it was going to be really hard because that is the peak of our fire season. And leading up to the race, you asked about balance and how I spend my days. I spend my days, most of the daylight hours, at work a lot of the time. And that's kind of year round. During the summer, I mean, some really long days with everything we've got going on with the fire organization and the fire program here. And that's where my focus is. And then those nighttime hours, I'm either at home, or if folks have jokingly looked at my Strava, I got a lot of early morning workouts in, a lot of 4 a.m. workouts. So, but just like everybody, you make it work as best you can with your other commitments and responsibilities. So,
Yeah.
but it was brutal, turning it down. I would love to try to chase it again and try to get into Western States. But to be honest, I'm struggling with consistency right now. I'm been battling injuries since just after, that summer, and I'm not getting any younger. And it's been tough the past 2 years, basically, one thing after another, and my body is um, breaking down a little bit, and that's getting older, and it sucks, as people say. But I still have been trying to get back on the horse and enjoy running, but also trying to keep things in perspective too, because recognizing how much it truly takes to be in that kind of shape, as the I'm preaching to the choir. I mean, the three of you know better than I do about truly what it takes to be ultra competitive, at that level. So I would love to get back. If it happens, it would be amazing. If I don't make it back, that's okay, because I still enjoy running and running on the trails and following the sport and seeing, exceptional athletes do incredible things. And then also seeing, you know, just people who don't think they're exceptional do incredible things too. And that's kind of the beauty of trail running in my mind.
All right, I want to interrupt this episode very briefly to talk about our John G pick of the week, which is the women's 7-inch pace short. I can personally vouch for the fact that it is indeed bounce-free as advertised. It's got amazing storage, including a pass-through loop at the back for your shirt to tuck into if you happen to overheat mid-run, which I know isn't really a thing this time of year in the middle of winter, but it will be warm again, friends. I promise you. The best part of all about these shorts is the pockets on the sides of the legs. I am a huge fan of pockets, especially pockets that don't bounce around. And I don't always love wearing a pack on my runs, so having somewhere to put my phone, keys, and some nutrition while I'm out on a run is awesome. Anyways, it's a great short, and it's one of Janji's top sellers for a reason. Don't forget that you get 10% off your Janji order with the code Trail Network. Now, back to our episode with Trueheart. Enjoy.
Yeah, I think about that a lot, how it feels as if it's a luxury, really, to be able to even lace up your shoes at all when it comes to a full-time job and being a parent and wanting to be the best self you can be in all of those places. And then on top of that, trying to be your best runner self. And it sounds like you've been able to put those in perspective, and you've done some of that introspection and really looked within and saying, what is important to you right now. And it's your kids and your family and your job and saving our forests. So thank you for that. It's hard for us as fans. I think I would speak for all of us. We want you to chase it again because you are insanely talented, and it's really fun to just be able to banter about this because you have left a mark on our sport forever. And, it always feels like, where'd he go? We want him back because, when people start chasing tickets, they usually just keep trying to chase tickets for a long time until they can try and get one. And you got the big one and then you weren't able to do it because of your selflessness. So anyways, as a part of our community, I wanted to say thank you because it means a lot to turn down a ticket, but you gave back to your community in that way. And it's really the most selfless thing you can do. But it comes back to really, I'm curious of your thoughts on trail running as a soul sport, because it sounds like that's what I'm hearing. It's like you give it your all, you love to compete, but sometimes you just run for fun. And I'm curious of what your thoughts are as trail running as a soul sport and what it does for you on like a personal, deeper, maybe spiritual level.
Yeah, and great comments, and I appreciate it. But I think, for me, it really is that stress reliefs, that that mental health aspect that I really need. And I mean, we could go down a real big rabbit hole here, but I used to hate running. Absolutely hated it. Oh yeah, I did not like running. I grew up ski racing, bike racing, and those were my sports. Did Nordic and Alpine, but over the years it just got harder and harder to do those things on a more regular basis. But I found I could throw on a pair of shoes and just get out and go run. And then with work, there are some things about this job and fighting fires that there can be some pretty bad outcomes. And being a part of those can obviously lead you to some pretty dark places. And running, I found as I started to run a little bit more and more, and particularly trail running, became the one time where my brain just shuts off. And I don't say that like I'm not thinking, but everything else just falls away. And with the effort and the concentration on the trail, my mind truly is at peace. And going back to the soul sport piece of it, that's what trail running gives to me is that just that mental health aspect. And that's one thing, going back to the perspective I have really struggled with as over the last couple of years, is just not being able to have that release anymore, that has been super challenging. And it's something that I'm really trying to get back to that state. And then we'll see about what the next ticket Jace looks like for me. But that piece is really key for me. And I know it is for a lot of folks, but that piece right there is key. And I think it's hard. And I'll just kind of go on a little bit of a tangent, because I mean, the sport is getting so professional, and it is, and that's a good thing, because I think it gives a lot of folks, for the three of you, for example, the opportunity to, or other up and coming folks, to make a living doing this sport that takes so much and is, it is a true high level endurance sport. And I think there's just this lag time of bringing up the actual professionalization of it with the actual commitments and requirements that are needed to compete at the highest level. And there's a disparity there, and that gap's closing, but it's still got a ways to go. But the beautiful thing about it, though, in my mind, with the sport is, even if you're not an elite, you can still toe the line, run the same course as, a Rachel Drake, a Katie Asmuth, a Leah Yingling, and, a Jim Walmsley, a Hayden Hawks, and that's such a neat experience, because when you look at any other sport, and granted, obviously some races you don't have that opportunity, but you never know who might show up at your weekend ultra that you've been training for, and you can still, run the same course the same day as those folks. And that's the beauty of it too. And I don't know. I know I'm starting to ramble, so.
No, I mean, gosh, that is the exact same reason I think all of us here love the sport as well. It's like it touches you in a different way, and it's meaningful because regardless of where you're at in your ultra running trajectory, it can be relatable. And I think we all see that in you too. And I think that's why so many people ask about you regularly, because you're such a relatable person. You do so much for yourself, for your family, for the sport, for the community. And like, I just want to tell you that's completely inspiring. And I'm sure a lot of people out there will be excited to hear where you're at these days. And I want to ask you too, what's fueling you these days? What excites you? It sounds like you were following the race this weekend. Yeah, what excites you? It could be in the sport, out of the sport. Yeah, what does it for you?
That's a great question. And, I should have a good answer. But I guess for me, what excites me is just life in general and people. And, I say that, like, my kids excite me, my coworkers excite me, but man, you look around and you see what people can do. And like, I take a lot of inspiration from people who are out there grinding it every day
Mm.
that nobody knows about, right? The people that they're waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work, putting in, their whatever they can do to keep things going in their families. And I'll throw her name out, Kaylee Nelson. So she's one of my dispatchers here at Dispatch. Kaylee
Shout out.
Nelson started the 60K
Oh,
on, oh yeah, on Sunday. She had a pretty rough race, and but she's grinding it out every day. And, 2 kids, her husband works in fire too, and she ultimately didn't finish because, like I said, she had some issues. But she's out there, and she is by no means chasing a ticket anytime soon, but she's giving it her all. And that's the kind of, that inspires me, and that's what excites me in the grand scheme of things. And And you think about the Kayleys of the world, and everybody's got them, but all the other people, you don't even know their names, and that's what they're doing. And then like all the folks that towed the line last weekend, maybe they finished, maybe they didn't, but they gave it their all. And everything that it took to get them to that start line, that's pretty amazing in my mind. So
We love that.
Amen.
We'll be looking out for Kaylee, and we'll be, hoping to see you on another start line, rooting for you. And we just want to thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us and updating us on everything that's going on. It's been a really, really enjoyable chatting with you.
no, for sure. And again, I appreciate the time, and again, honored and humbled that you even thought to reach out to me. And no, again, congrats, outstanding job, and can't wait to hear what other guests you all have coming on. Sounds like some pretty good ones, and yeah, I'll be cheering for you all at Western States. So,
Man, I don't think we could top episode number 1. So I think you set our standard way too high, Trueheart.
no, I'm sure there'll be a lot of great guests. So, but thank you for the time, and no, appreciate it. Anything else, don't hesitate to reach out. But and if you're ever in Flagstaff, need somebody to go on probably a slow run here for the next couple of months, let me know.
A 4 a.m. run?
Okay. Yeah, a 4 a.m. slow run. And I'm always up for some skimo here. So, but
Fun.
thank you all.
Thanks, Trueheart.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this left you feeling inspired and limitless in whatever your pursuit is, whether it's running or work or family. I'm still just so struck with how impactful this race was for Trueheart and his family, and I think it just really speaks to the magic of our sport. If you're feeling inspired, please leave us a rating and review on either YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, and message us on Instagram at the Trail Network Pod with any feedback. We love hearing from you guys. We'll talk to you next week.